Okay, so now let's put some of the things we've been talking about together. Okay, so here's the graph of f of x. It's this. And we want to sketch the graph of 2f of x plus 3 minus 1. So a lot of things have happened. It is a transformed graph. All right, so let's talk about the individual pieces that are happening. Okay, so let's start with the 2. What's happening? Well, 2 is being multiplied by our function. So what does that tell us? Are we changing x or are we changing y? So if it's multiplying by our function, we're changing y. So this 2 tells us we need to multiply our y value by 2. What about this x plus 3 inside the function? So if it's inside the function, are we changing x or are we changing y? All right, so we are definitely changing x. And how so? Are we going to add 3? Are we going to subtract 3? Are we going 3 to the right, 3 to the left? Well, note we're changing x, so it's going to be the opposite of what occurs. We're going to subtract 3, so we're moving to the left 3. So we're going to shift 3 units left. That's what's happening here with that x plus 3. And then finally, we have minus 1 right here. Are we changing the x value or the y value? Well, it's happening outside of the function, so it's happening to the function. So we're changing the y value. And how so? Well, it's going to shift down 1 unit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We just want to sketch this new graph. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. I'm going to choose points first. Luckily, I think these are the same points as the previous problem. All right, so we got negative 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3. Then I just want to transform those points that we have into 2f of x plus 3 minus 1. All right, so note, we are changing x here, and we're also changing y in 2 different ways. So that means both sides of our table are going to change. All right, so let's start with x. How is x changing? Well, we got x plus 3, so we could do this 2 ways. We could say that x plus 3 equals negative 1, like we did before. That's a long way. But we also know we're shifting it 3 units to the left. So let's just subtract negative 1 minus 3. So our x is negative 4. All right, we'll do the same thing. 2 minus 3. So our x is negative 1. And then 3 minus 3, our x is 0. All right, so again, we're treating x and y completely separately, or completely separate. Now let's talk about y. What's happening? Well, we're multiplying it by 2, and we're also subtracting 1. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're starting with 2. So we're going to say 2 times our old y value minus 1. That's exactly what's happening here. So our new y value is 3. Then we have 2 times 4 minus 1, which is 7. And then 2 times 3 minus 1. which is 5. Perfect. All right, to make it a little more clear, I'm going to write out the points just so we know what we're plotting. So -4 and 3, -1 and 7, and 0 and 5. So let's plot these on our graph. Okay, so now let's analyze this and make sure that we got exactly what we expected to get. All right, so let's see. This 2 means that we have stretched vertically, so we're stretching on the y, so it should be taller than it was, and it is. We've shifted it to the left. It is now moved over to the left. And then here, the change down, well, that was actually offset by stretching it by 2. So this is kind of difficult to see, but overall, we have kind of what we expected, so that's good. All right, now let's talk about reflection through the y-axis. So same thing here, we're just going to use the y-axis as a mirror, flip our graph over it. Okay, so let's look at this. It says the graph of y equals f of negative x is obtained by reflecting the graph of y equals f of x. So what do we think is happening here? Are we changing the x value or the y value? We're changing the x values because it's happening inside the function. So that means y is going to stay the same. All right, and so how are we changing it? We're just going to make x negative. So we're doing the same thing as before. We're going to choose our points. I think, is this the same graph? Yes, perfect. It's the same graph as before. So we already know our original. Feel free to pause this if I'm going too fast. Now we just transform those points. All right, so this time we want f of negative x. Okay, so are we changing the y values at all? No, the only thing we're doing is making x negative. So we're doing 2, 4, and 3 as our y values just like before. But here, we just want the opposite of what x was, make it negative. So we're going to have 1, -2, -3. Okay, now let's plot these points. Connect our dots. Oh, what happened? We just flipped this over the y-axis, so we should have an exact mirror image.